Hey everyone, it's Tom Seymour with VHS Massacre Radio. VHS Massacre Radio is more dedicated to film industry topics and also the films that I've done, VHS Massacre and VHS Massacre Too, which are about the video store era, and also the American exploitation film. I've been touring the festival circuit, and so far this is the most successful film in the festival circuit that I've ever had. I think it's hitting on a specific vibe. People are feeling nostalgic, and when you bring up the video store era and the influence of Blockbuster and how they took out the mom and pop video stores and how that parallels with modern media consolidation and how the conglomerates are now essentially taking out exploitation films as a financially viable film format. I think that resonates, especially now during the pandemic when things are more acute. I think people are getting it a little clearer. And so the film essentially talks about how eventually society does lose out, because especially exploitation films, as in market exploitation, these are films that that the studios will not make. Either they think maybe they're tasteless or they don't think there's money in it. If those type of films can't make money, you lose most of the experimentation in cinema, and whether they're good ideas or bad ideas, those don't get carried forward into the future. And the easiest examples to bring up are like Wild Angels, Roger Corman biker film, right? Trashy biker B-movie exploitation film. They're marketing, the market exploitation, if you will, is to, bikers, which is stuff that the studios would not deal with back then. They just didn't want to do that. Or teenagers behaved badly and things like that. Things that Joe Bob Briggs talks about, actually. And so, but what you have from that is that Wild Angels did well, and then they ended up making Easy Rider, and Easy Rider to some degree jump-started that 70s independent film movement, although every decade has their own independent film movement. So that's an example. And then Professor James Richardson always talks about the black exploitation film movement, or blaxploitation. Basically, you're marketing films to a really underrepresented portion of Americans. And that was one of the first times you saw this sort of extreme pro-blackness. And James will tell you, some of the depictions are imperfect. But what his point is that you do not have, you don't get the Black Panther movie without movies like Black Belt Jones and Three the Hard Way, Jim Kelly, Jim Brown, Fred Williamson, Pam Grier, in movies like Coffee and things like that, really powerful female figures. It's all about the net gain over time. Like, you don't know what's going to be progressive. You don't know what ideas are going to move forward. So what you need is the maximum amount of freedom to make films in regard to taste or pushing envelopes. But then also you need those films to financially, if the good ones cannot financially recover their budget, it's a huge problem for society, because you make a great film, the media conglomerates make it impossible for you to make your money back, because they will give you horrible distribution deals, and they own every profitable avenue. In the future, you're paying the toll for that. So that's basically the crux of the argument. So, long story short, too late, but this is all to say, I think it's resonating in the film festival circuit. I want to announce some festival dates moving forward, but so far I believe it's screened at 26 film festivals and to date has won 18 awards. One of the things that has happened, VHS Massacre 2 is screening at this thing called Dracula Fest, and it's a pretty famous film festival in Transylvania, Romania. Like, it's actually Dracula Fest. And they recently awarded Debbie Rochon the Count Dracula Award. So it's the first year it's going to be the Countess Dracula Award. And she's being honored alongside people who've won in the past are, Lamberto Bava, which is directed Demons, and obviously is Mario Bava's son, important Italian horror figure, and Sergio Stavati, who did a lot of amazing effects for Dario Argento films and the film Demons and things like that. So basically, Debbie is reaching this rank of really being honored alongside some of these really important figures. So congratulations to Debbie Rochon. And they chose to screen one of my older films, Mark of the Beast, which stars Debbie Rochon, Dick Boland, and Ellen Muth. And that's basically it's sort of like an exorcism in a cabin sort of scenario. It's based upon a Kipling short story called Mark of the Beast. So they chose that film to screen before they gave Debbie the award. I think that's going to happen on the 18th. So that's pretty exciting. And they're also playing VHS Massacre Too, which is really cool. I recently got interviewed, and I got to talk about all my old films, which was really it's really interesting. When you think about your life, you think about it as a story, and I think you get better at telling the story. And then you look back at the films, and it's different. Every year that you get older changes the past. So I am proud of some of those films. I got to talk about one of my first features, Everything Moves Alone. And that was, in hindsight, I can say, I think that actually was a pretty good movie. I think it was misunderstood to some degree. And then basically all of those films got me to where I am now. And so I think that's a good place, and I'm very happy about what's going on. So some of the festival screenings are so Dracula Fest is doing this, they're screening, but it's actually a physical screening, so this is not going to apply to a lot of people. But on October 14th there's going to be a judges screening, and that's going to be a screening in actually Transylvania, which I think that is it's pretty badass. The Spirit of Independence Film Festival in the United Kingdom, tomorrow they're going to start opening up VHS Massacre 2 to screen, so you can get your tickets there. If you look up Spirit of Independence on Film Festival, you could find that on the Facebook page, and I'll post a link if you go to the VHS Massacre Facebook page. Then later in October is the Vancouver Horror Show. I was super excited to be part of that. I've been trying to get into. I'm a big admirer of Canadian exploitation films, especially like Astron 6 and films like Hobo with a Shotgun. There's even Wolf Cop to some degree had a certain charm. Like Canada has a different way of making films. Essentially, the government will fund certain projects, and they'll fund projects of unusual films, horror films, things like that, where that's less normal in the United States. Typically, you're trying to get grants, and those grants tend to be more for films that have social commentary, social justice themes, or historic, straight up historical documentaries, things like that. And so it's a little harder to get money from the government for horror films in the United States. But I think in result, that's what you see is Canada's got some pretty badass films. And so I've been trying to get into a Canadian film festival because I'm just an admirer of what they have going on. So I was amazed to hear that Vancouver Horror Show let us in. They're going to screen on the 26th, which is exciting. And then the Montreal Requiem Fear Fest, which is excellent. We're nominated for a Best Documentary, and I think we're going to find out what's going on with that later in the month. And still waiting to hear from a few other things. We screened at Milwaukee Twisted Dreams Film Festival, which was excellent. And waiting to see if they post their winners. That would be fun to announce the winners at that. So that's about all I have for now. I'm also working on a documentary about the king of royalty-free music, Kevin MacLeod. It's a short doc. It's going to be about 25 minutes, and I actually don't know what I'm going to do with it. It's for my MFA thesis project at Hunter College in New York. And I've been doing features for so long that I really haven't had to try to do something with a short in a long time. So, of course, the idea is to enter film festivals, but then also try to investigate where those things could be put online. Like there's something called Short of the Week I'm going to look into, and a bunch of other things like that. So that'll be a fun experiment to try to market a short, because, I mean, you think about, it's hard nowadays to make your money back on a feature film as a product. A feature film is a lot more viable. So a short film is very difficult, but it'll be a good experiment to see what's out there. And so stay tuned for that. That's all I have for now. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.